Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome to this very, very special webinar on the daily routine of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and also how it applies to our daily life, inshallah ta'ala. This webinar will be about 45 minutes long. It will not be enough to cover everything. We'll try our best to cover the best bits of the daily routine of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but more importantly, how can we apply his routine, his habits to our own personal daily lives in today's modern times. This is actually a beautiful, one of my favorite topics. I think I wrote an article about this about a few months back. It was the most shared article on ProductiveMuslim.com about the daily routine. So after this webinar, please do go and check out the article on the ProductiveMuslim website on the daily routine of Prophet Muhammad. It goes into much more detail than what I can cover in this 45 minutes. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you guys benefit from this. And I really hope you guys would also spend some time taking some notes, because there'll be a lot of stuff covering in this webinar. So I hope you guys will take some notes, inshallah ta'ala, so we go through this, inshallah ta'ala. So with that, let us begin. Now, first of all, why is it important for us to study the routines of successful people? If you're on the chat, and by the way, I like to make my webinars much more interactive than just a lecture here. So just out of curiosity, if you were to say to yourself, why is it so important for us to learn the routines of successful people? If you just shout out some answers in the chat box, if you're on Facebook, just put on the comments there. Just why do you think that we need to learn the routines of successful people, inshallah ta'ala? Okay, so Imran has told us about barakah, about finding the barakah, but even for, let's say, for Muslim or non-Muslim as well, why is it important for us to learn the routine of successful people, inshallah ta'ala? Okay, so stay on the Sirat Mustaqim. Okay, someone else? Think about, anyone who's successful, Muslim, non-Muslim, right? And a lot of us sometimes ask them, what time is to wake up? What time is to sleep? What will they do? The meal, what sort of habits is to have? We always are very inquisitive about their habits and routines. Why is that? Okay, so Sumaya is asking, so we can find what made them successful. Very, very good point. Okay. So you can follow their footsteps. Excellent point. So you can implement in their own lives. Perfect. Excellent. So again, when we think about habits and routines, remember that we are creatures of habits. Human beings are creatures of habits. In fact, 40% of our daily actions, according to Duke University, is habits. Think about, the stuff you do every day. A lot of times when you look into your own life, you realize a lot of things you do are habits. The time you wake up, the time you sleep, what you wear, what you normally wear every single day, the route you take to work, the route you take back. A lot of things we do out of habits. So 40% of our actions is made up of habits. Now, if you think about these habits every single day, as you do them day by day, they add up, right? The stuff you do every single day, they add up. If somebody, example, eats healthy every single day, then guess what? By the time he's 60 or 70, they'll feel much more healthy. But if someone does not eat unhealthy, does not exercise, then that also adds up. So the small daily actions is what leads to successful life, or even unsuccessful lives. And a lot of us, when we look into the routine of the successful people, we do realize that there's something they've been doing on a consistent basis that made them great writers, or great thinkers, or great, speakers, or great, parents, or great, any action, any role, you think to ourselves, man, this person was successful in that role. A lot of times it's because they have mastered execution of daily habits that help them reach that success rate. So habits and routines make up our life, and successful people, and for us it's a decoding sample. If we can know what successful people do in the daily habits, in the daily routines, then we'll know exactly how to translate that into our own lives so that we can achieve the same level of success. Now, of course, as Muslims, who is better than to learn the routine of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to understand his routine, because he was and he is the most successful man that ever lived, the most blessed man that ever lived, the person who achieved success both in dunya and akhirah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So think about, that if you really want to achieve success not just in dunya terms, but also in akhirah terms, then the routine habits of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam should be the first guidepost for you. Should be the first place you go to and ask yourself, how did Prophet Muhammad live his life, and how can I practically apply his habits, his routines, the things he's doing on a daily basis to my own life? Now, the thing about Prophet ﷺ that's really empowering us, and sometimes people always ask these two questions, right? The first question is say, well, you know, is the Prophet's habits routine relevant to us today, right? People say, well, you know, mashallah, you know, Prophet ﷺ, great man, blessed man, but he lived 1400 years ago. He used to live in a sort of, you know, very simple life, you know, and today's life is so complicated. He didn't have rush hour traffic. He didn't have, you know, all this complicated modernity we have around us today. And, you know, it's just, you know, not the same thing. A lot of people use that excuse for not tapping into the habits of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second excuse, people say, well, great, you know, Prophet had great routines, but how much does that apply to me? How much does that apply to? I'm a mother, or I am a student, or I am a professional manager, or I am, you know, I'm a teacher. You know, every one of us is, I'm a different, right? I'm not the same. I don't have the same, you know, lifestyle or routine, or, you know, even the people around me are different. How can that apply practically to me? These are two biggest questions people ask whenever we cover the daily routine of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah ta'ala, I'm gonna try to answer that for you. The first thing to answer is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself said in the Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ الْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has already said that this is your best example. Prophet Muhammad is your best guide. He is your best role model. If you want to achieve success, if you want to see Allah and Allah be pleased with you, then He is your best role model. And that by itself should affirm to us that we will always find something in the Prophet's habits, in the Prophet's routines that can be practically applied to our daily lives. If we think that for some reason this is not relevant, or this is beyond our daily habits, then there's something wrong with us and nothing wrong with the daily habits of Rasulullah. We need to really check with ourselves and say, are we being serious about learning about the routines and the habits of Prophet Muhammad and applying our daily lives, or are we not serious enough? So think about it from that perspective, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has said this man is the best example. So from that perspective, it's very, very important for us to realize that this is such a powerful example for us, and we should try our best to emulate him as best as possible, inshallah ta'ala. Now, that's from the perspective of, this is from the Quran. Now, secondly, is that the beauty of Prophet being born in Arabia, where life was very simple that time, 1400 years ago, is that his life was so simple that actually it's much more applicable. Imagine if he was born perhaps around our time, where things are so complicated, where there's so much things around us. Maybe it would have been difficult for people to follow because everyone's different with different, you know, stages of life and different development. But because he had such a simple life, then it makes it so much easier for us to follow him, because it's not that complicated. Today, as I go through this routine, you'll be surprised. You'll be like, it's not that hard. It doesn't sound too complicated. It's not rocket science. It's actually very, very easy. But we made it so difficult. We made it that, you know, we kind of made it unreachable. Inshallah ta'ala, the goal of this webinar is to help you understand and see that link and make it so easy and so practical that all of us can apply the habits and routines of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah ta'ala. Now, before I carry on, remember this is actually the night of Friday, or this is Friday for if you're calling from other parts of the world. This is Friday for you, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommended that we should increase salawat upon him on this blessed night and on Friday. So please do, as I mentioned the Prophet's name, please do mention sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you get nothing else in this webinar except repeating sallallahu alaihi wasallam 100 times, then that for me is like the best reward you could get from this webinar, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it all on hasanat, inshallah ta'ala. So please always say salawatullah salamu alayhi, as I mentioned his name, as I mentioned his stories, so that we really enjoy this webinar and we enjoy just remembering him and how to emulate him, inshallah ta'ala. So now, where did we get this routine from? Now, if you think about seerah books as they're put together, a lot of seerah books go in chronological order. So you don't really find a typical day in the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first thing we did when it came to this work was that we looked at the Prophet's seerah from the Medina perspective, not the Mecca perspective, because the Medina perspective is when Prophet Muhammad is more settled, right? In Medina he was in Mecca he was persecuted, he was not settled, didn't have a community, he didn't have the freedom to go and pray in the masjid and do his own activities. So Mecca was not the right time for us to pick up these habits and routines, although there are some very, very important lessons for us from the Meccan period. But for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to focus on his daily routine, his daily habit in Medina, when he's more settled among his community, among his family, among his companions, his friends, his peace people. That's where we're going to be looking at picking up the routines from that perspective. The second thing is that that when I say routine, it might sound, a bit like habitual, right? And one of the beautiful thing about the seerah of Prophet ﷺ is that no 2 days were the same for the Prophet. Every day was different. It was very fluid, very spontaneous. A lot of things you'd realize that there's no much rigidity. It wasn't like a rigid man, like, sorry, it's 9 o'clock, I'm not gonna be here. He was very fluid. His for example, his halaqas used to expand or contract depending how busy people were. So he wasn't very rigid. So it's very hard to put the word routine in the traditional sense, like 9 to 5 and 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. But we get a sense of what he does at different parts of the day. And that's the idea of this webinar. Get you an idea of different things you do at different parts of the day that perhaps will give you an idea what you can do during those parts of the day, inshallah ta'ala. Now, finally, in terms of the source of this material, I'm personally using this book. It's a book written in Arabic called Al-Yawm al-Nabawi by Sheikh Abdul Wahab Nasr Tariri. He's based in Saudi Arabia. It's very, very useful book. One of the best books I have read on the routine of Muhammad ﷺ. It has a lot of, it covers all the, his typical day. What I like about it, every single story, every single part of the day is referenced clearly to exact which hadith, which covers, which book it covers from. So it's very, very well documented, well preserved book. So may Allah reward the author for this. And so you can see from all these bookmarks that I've been taking a lot of notes for you guys. So inshallah ta'ala, we have a lot of things to cover through this webinar, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so now that I've kind of covered the base, we kind of understood the importance of learning routines, because we are part of, we're creatures of habits. We should, when we develop our own habits, it determines whether we live successful lives for this life and hereafter. And no better person to learn from their habits than the habits of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, like I mentioned, that he is relevant to us today because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he is the best role model and he is the final messenger. So for us, we really need to tap into his seerah and try to understand what was the daily routine of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay, so now let's begin. And I want you just to really enjoy this. I want you to really just close your eyes and just imagine you are in Medina. Actually, just zoom in a bit and go closer to the Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And you probably hear, Bilal climbing, and making the adhan in the Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At that moment, just move in. If you had a camera, right, you'll zoom in and go towards the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taking a brief nap from his qiyam, because he spent all night or most of the night in qiyam. So he's taking a brief nap as he hears the adhan. So the adhan of Bilal wakes him up, salawatullah salamu alayhi, and he wakes up and he takes his siwak. So his favorite siwak. He always used to use a siwak before sleeping, when he entered the home, when he left the home. When he used to start praying, he always used to carry the siwak, salawatullah. Such a clean person, pure person, always used to use the siwak. And he would get up and he'd make the dua from waking up, and then he would answer what the muadhin is saying. And he will get up and he will pray. If he needs to make ghusl, he'll make ghusl. If he needs to make wudu, he'll make wudu. And then he will pray the 2 rak'ah of Fajr inside his home. And then at that moment, he will wait a bit inside his home. He won't go out. He'll wait a bit. Sometimes he'll be with one of his wife that night, and he'll either sleep next to her, or if she's awake, he will start talking to her. And this will continue until the moment of Fajr prayer. When Fajr prayer is time for Fajr prayer, Bilal radiallahu anhu would walk up to the house of Rasulullah sallam and says, As-salah ya Rasulullah, and the Prophet Muhammad would come, and Bilal would make the iqamah, and the prayer would begin. Now, pause. So far, so good. Anything complicated, right? Is there anything from this that we cannot implement? We wake up, if we can use siwak, we use the siwak. We say the dua for waking up. We can find these du'as online, many other places. And then you just, you make wudu, pray 2 rak'ah fajr, and you wait for salah. And you if you have time, speak to your wife, speak to your spouse, your children, maybe nurture relationship, and then get ready for salah. If you have to go masjid early. Anything complicated so far, right? It's not hard. You can do this so far? All right. I want to hear some yeses. Make sure that we're all on the same page here. Okay. Practical, very useful, not hard. Okay. Now, he prays Fajr prayer. Okay. After Fajr prayer, he would say the dua for finishing the prayers, and he would say the adhkar of finishing the prayers, and he would sometimes he would actually repeat after some of the adhkar, the morning adhkars he would say. And after he sits down, one of the beautiful things that happens is that he would come in And the young servants of Medina will come with their water bags, right, water sacks, and they'll come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasul will put his hands through just as part of blessings, barakah, and then they would rush off in the morning. Just imagine this morning, he wakes up, he prays Fajr, the Sahabas are behind him praying in line, and he does the adhkar of the Fajr prayer, he does the adhkar of the morning remembrances, the morning adhkar, and then he is ready now to start speaking to the Sahaba Ridwanullah alayhim. Okay, so far so good, right? Wake up, do the adhkar, use the siwak, pray 2 rak'ah Fajr, go to the masjid, pray Fajr, do adhkar for after Fajr, do your morning remembrances, and so far so good. Again, nothing complicated, it's not hard, it's very, very easy. Okay, next point. As soon as he finishes adhkar for the morning, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum would come closer to him, and that's when he starts talking to them. And he doesn't start talking to them by either he will give a strong maw'idah, like a remembrance, sometimes he'll just ask about how they're doing. For example, he'll say, is anyone of you who are sick? Is anyone of you who has a funeral I should follow? And you just ask about him. He always asks about his companions, find out about his companions. Are they okay? Who's missing? Why is they missing? And that shows us about his leadership style. Last week, if you remember last week, Omar spoke to you guys about leadership. It said leadership is about influence. If you think about how do you influence people, the best and easiest way to influence people is to actually care about them. If you care about the people who follow you, and you ask about them, and you genuinely care, you care just because you want something from them, but you genuinely care. Rasulullah genuinely cared. He would ask about if someone is sick, he'd ask if there's a janazah, he would ask if someone's missing, why they're missing. So he used to ask about his companions, radiallahu anhum. And sometimes you'd ask them about, have you guys seen a dream, for example, and he would start interpreting the dream in that time. And as soon as that, comes, in that session it doesn't last sort of that long, and then he'll probably will stay with them, and just maybe he'll hear the Sahabas talking among themselves. Maybe they'll talk about how they were in the Jahiliyyah days, and then he probably has somebody to smile with them, but he will stay in the masjid until sunrise. Again, guys, pause. Anything complicated so far? Right? Praying Fajr, do adhkar. Maybe if you don't have if there's no lecture in the masjid, maybe perhaps you can read some Quran, and just basically stay in your musalla until sunrise and wait till sunrise. So far, so good. Okay? All right. After sunrise, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to get up and he would go towards, go and visit his family. So he goes, he had multiple wives. So he'd go and visit all of them, saying, Assalamu alaikum, are you all okay? And then sometimes you'd ask, do you have anything? Meaning, do you have anything to eat, right? So basically asking for his breakfast. And again, the simplicity of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family, sometimes there's nothing in the home. Imagine, there's nothing in the home of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to eat. So he would say that, okay, then I'm fasting today. So again, hint here, when to have breakfast? Right after sunrise. You come back from sunrise, good time to basically have breakfast. That's another thing we can learn from this, inshallah ta'ala. And if there's nothing to eat or nothing is ready, you can say, I can fast. For voluntary fast, you don't have to have the intention before Fajr. You can have the intention after Fajr, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, then I'm fasting if there's nothing in his home to eat. So as soon as he's visited his family, asked about them, he makes sure they're okay. He would then come back to the masjid, and he would pray 2 rak'ah in the masjid, and then he would sit. And this is like his official time when people come and ask him questions, and people come and ask him, some guests will come from abroad. This is the official time for him to meet people. So again, think about from your perspective, how this applies to you. This is about, it could be your work time, your official, office time, the time after sunrise. So imagine, again, think about it practically, how it applies to your life. Sunrise, you come home, you have breakfast, you have something light, maybe you speak to your family, see how they're doing, and then, check how people are doing, and then time to go to work, or if you're at home, trying to get ready, prepare the house, or do whatever house needs to get done. But you basically start your day, right? You get ready for your day and start your day. So this is the time when the Sahaba used to spend time with him and have this common, discussion with him around this time. And the beautiful thing about this is that Muhammad never used to kind of lecture them, like 2-hour lectures or 1-hour lectures. he used to always ask questions. He asks them, how are you guys, for example, he says, do you know who is the broke person? And the Sahaba would be like, the person who doesn't have no money. He goes, no, the person who's broke is the person who on the day of judgment will come and he will have so many good deeds, but then he has insulted somebody and he has hit somebody. So all his good deeds will go to those other people, and in the end he'll have none of his good deeds. That's a broke person. So he always asks this question. Sometimes he'll say, tell me the tree that is like the Muslim. Right, and Sahaba start thinking, what's the tree that's like the Muslim? And one Sahaba says, oh, it's a palm tree, for example. So that's another example. So he always used to ask questions. He was also not a very boring lecture. This is a tip for teachers when I engage your students: ask questions instead of just trying to lecture, basically. Sometimes he would actually draw. Right, if I could share this with you guys, let me see if I can draw. This is a drawing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam drew to explain. Basically, life. He said that life is basically, this is the life of a person. So you draw a square. So this is the life of a person, and he said that this is the lifespan of a human being, and the line extends outwards is his hope. Like all of us, we hope we're going to live beyond 70, 80, 90, 20, but we don't know. We might die before then. And then he said that in between them there are sort of trials, tribulations that will distract this person, that will take him away from this person, from the straight path. So you get, again, very simple drawing that he's used to explain concepts of, for example, that you're living your life and sometimes we have high expectations of what we're going to do, but it goes beyond what we actually already been predetermined for us, and showing you how sometimes life will be pulling right, left, and center if you not stay focused on the straight path. And again, different teaching techniques that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make as a way to just engage his Sahaba during this time from the morning until the evening. That's from the morning, in that morning to after sunrise, inshallah. Okay. Also, this is a time that sometimes some of the young boys of Medina would come and spend time with him. Sometimes if a newborn was born the night before, they'll bring him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He'll do the tahniq, or he'll give him the name. And also sometimes he'll give, he'll joke in a halal way, in an honest way, not unfortunately the way we joke nowadays, but in a very, very halal way. He'll also joke with them in these early hours. So this is the morning of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's very busy, very active. He's involved. He's teaching. He's doing his. If you think of the Prophet Muhammad's profession, he is the teacher of humanity. He's the last messenger. So this is one of his core time periods, core activities in that day. And also that this is the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to receive guests from different people as well. This is the time at that time as well. This is also the time that he used to shura with his companions about different aspects, whether to go for battle or not, whether to, what should they do, how to strategize, how to defend Medina if Medina was being attacked. This is the time that he used to do shura, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And like I said, this thing is not like rigid. It's not like, start 7 o'clock, finish by 9 o'clock, assalamu alaikum. It used to be very fluid, very spontaneous. It used to expand and contract depending on the need. If the Sahabas are busy, it might be shorter. If the Sahabas are not busy, it might be longer. And after that, once people are sort of are almost done, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would head back to his home and go and either take a nap at that time, or he will do and start his morning walks in Medina. Okay, so again, so far, nothing complicated, right? I mean, in terms of how does this apply to your professional life, then the best way you can think about this is basically this is when you start your work or start your school or start your activities of the day, right? And again, after sunrise, that's when you start. And if you are in some kind of profession of teaching or profession of looking after people, then being conscious of every single person, being caring about them and knowing what's wrong. Maybe a practical tip for you here is going to see every single, as you go in your office or you go into school, saying Assalamu alaikum, saying good morning, or saying something that, you meet people and say, how are you guys doing? Are you okay? And really listening to how and seeing how they are doing and showing that you care. And if they're sick, you visit them if they're sick. If someone died in family, you go to the janazah. I mean, that is how you build relationships. That's how people see the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in you as a human being. So being that caring person. Sometimes, unfortunately, we get to office, the first thing we want to do is go straight to the cubicle, right? Just want to go and hide, log in, and do whatever we want to do. We don't even want to go and talk to people. Think of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who spent time building relationships. Relationships is what matters when it comes to our happiness in dunya and akhirah, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so now he's finished his morning sort of like halaqah, you can say, or his morning time with his sahabas. This is the time somebody he goes out and walks in the Medina. And this way it's not like a stroll. It doesn't like go around and stroll around. No, he's a very purposeful walk. He used to walk and he used to, and one of the beautiful things about him is that the sahabas never walked behind him, right? You think that Rasulullah would be in front and all the sahabas are behind him. Never. He always used to walk amongst his sahaba. This is again a lesson of humility. If you're thinking about leadership and humility, this example of leadership and humility. You never used to, all of us, if someone wants to be a boss or leader, you want to be in the front, right? Be the front seat, to take the front chair in the meeting room, right? He used to sit in a way that even sometimes the people would come to, which one of you is the Rasulullah that they wouldn't know from the way people are sitting, who is the sort of the leader of that community. And whenever he used to walk, same thing. He never used to walk in front of his companions. He used to walk within his companions. Sometimes even the companion would be in front of him and on his side, but never behind him. And that's again from the humility of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he used to walk and say salam. He would either salam to the children, he would say salam to the, sometimes even a young servant girl will come and take his hand and he'd walk around in Medina, salawatullah salam alayhi. Sometimes he would be smiling to people, saying salam to, he would raise his hand. Sometimes see a group of women sitting, he says, raise his hand, salam alaikum. Sometimes he would, if a man comes up to him, he would shake hands with the person. He would focus on that person. He won't be like, for example, unfortunately, where we are, checking our phone at the same time, talking to people. He was not that, he was always fully focused, fully engaged, fully present. That's another word we're exploring. Fully present in the moment and not so distracted, unfortunately, as we are today. So he would, the young and the old, sometimes he would pass by. One day he passed by a young boy who's trying to slaughter a sheep, and he was not doing it properly. And Rasulullah said, come on, I'll show you how to do it. And Rasulullah himself got him in, and imagine got him to get his hands dirty. Again, not an arrogant leader who sort of stands up and says, oh, I don't know doing this. No, he got involved. He rolled up his sleeves. He helped the young boy know how to slaughter his sheep. He used to go around, walk with the children. He used to go and visit the sick. He would visit his family. People who invite him over. He would sometimes go and he would pass by somebody who was cooking a meal and say, hey, is your meal ready? And the man was overjoyed that Rasulullah is asking what his meal, and say yes, and he invite him over, and he'll sit down, have 2-3 bites, and then he'll walk away. He'll walk Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you can see he's very fluid, very immersed in himself, did not hide in some kind of ivory tower. He was with the people, communicating with the people. Now again, you might think, okay, how does that apply to me, right? How does that apply to my practical life? The key thing is to be somebody who cares about those who are around you, caring about your community, asking about them, being available, being focused, being present in front of people. Every day, yes, you have work, you have things to get done, you're busy, you're stressed, you have other things in your mind. But just the ability to be present and being with people, that's how you become someone who's admired with the akhlaq, someone who's admired as a leader even. So think about that from the perspective, not just, we think that sometimes being a leader is about getting the work done, but really it's about building relationships with people, building that capacity to have people in your life and understand them and being patient with them and being humble with them and not being arrogant with them despite all the issues and all the ego issues that goes around. And that's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what we can learn from him, salawatullah sallallahu alaihi. So again, just a pause here. Are you guys okay? Is this overwhelming you? Are you guys finding it, practical, easy to follow so far? Is anything that maybe I should clarify again? We have another, again, 20 minutes, inshallah ta'ala, but just make sure that we're so far going good. Okay. All right, brilliant. Awesome. All right, and jazakallah khair. Okay, so morning. So we've covered Fajr. We've covered until he sits in Masjid till sunrise. After sunrise, he'll go quickly in home to find if his family's okay, and sometimes even if there's breakfast, he'll eat breakfast, and he'll come, and then he will sit with the Sahaba and give them sort of that official time together. And then he would then go out of his way to visit people, go in the street Medina, be generally, like Omar is saying, genuinely caring for humanity and being present, around him. And then, for example, sometimes late in the afternoon, late in that morning, after the mid-morning, later, he'd probably visit his daughter Fatima radiallahu anha and visit his favorite grandchildren, Hassan Hussein radiallahu anhum. He'll go and see some of his companions or he'll meet some of the poor of the Muslims, those who are weak, who don't have family. He'll go and visit the sick, answer their invitation. Sometimes he'll be in his home, or sometimes he'll go back home, right? And sometimes in his home, sometimes there was a story of a Persian man who used to really make some really awesome soup. And one day he invited Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying, would you like to come over? And Rasulullah says, I want, do you invite Aisha radiallahu anha as well? And he was like, no, just you. So he said, no, I'm not coming. And look at that. And then 2-3 times the man came, eventually said, okay, you and Aisha come as well to have, have the soup. So think about even that, the way that he was so focused on his family, that when he was with his family, he was with his family, not again distracted from his family. He used to ask, again, this is still in the morning hours. You can see like he's busy, he's active, he's visiting people, he's talking to people. He's talking. One day he saw a child, and he saw a child is sad, and he asked the mother, why is Abu Umair, why is sad? And they said, oh, Rasulullah, he lost his bird. Right, he had a little bird, a pet bird that died. So Rasulullah used to, would try to make him feel better and say, Ya Abu Umair, ma fa'ala al-nughayr? What happened to that little bird? And try to make him feel better. Imagine that Rasulullah, if you think of someone being busy, that would be the most busiest person ever, right? He's a father, he's a prophet, he is the Grand Mufti, he is the leader, he is, the statesman, he's dealing with people trying to attack Medina, he is receiving revelations, trying to save humanity, and he's taking time to ask about the birth of a young child. I mean, that for me really just boggles my mind about how Rasulullah was so present and so available for people that, you never hear none of his companions or his wives or his children say, Rasul never had time for me. Or, work-life balance, right? Like you never hear that. You never hear Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam complaining that, he never had time for anyone. He fulfilled the right of every single person, whether it's his wife, whether his family, whether his kids, whether his grandchildren, whether his family, whether it's the poor people of Medina, whether it's the companions. He fulfilled every single haqq of every single person upon him, and that is the most amazing. And more importantly, he also fulfilled the haqq of his Rabb, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. I mean, again, it's just, the more you go into this, the more it just boggles your mind that he really knew how to give every single person their right. So this is so far in the mid-morning, like I said. So he was emotionally engaged as well. He wasn't like, when you visit somebody, sometimes, I hope, feeling bad. No, sometimes he used to cry. He would go visit a sick person, and he would be crying there in that, in the presence of that sick person, because he would feel that, that mercy for this human being. So, and this is again another lesson for us, a leadership lesson, that, for you to be among people when they are most vulnerable, most weak, they'll remember you forever. When you visit somebody who is sick, when you visit somebody during the funeral, when you visit somebody during the family funeral, when you stand with them, moments when when they're feeling very weak and feel very vulnerable, they will never forget you. So that's why the Sahaba loved Rasulullah so much, because he really, really cared about them. It's not that he was just because he was Rasulullah, but he genuinely cared about them. He would visit them, he would be emotionally engaged with them. And that's again a powerful leadership. Talk about empathy. I mean, he had total empathy with all the Sahaba, radwanullah, very, very, very powerful things, inshallah ta'ala. And again, so this will last, and so this is still mid-morning, and this will last until close to Dhuhr time. Close to Dhuhr time, he will take his qaylula, take his nap. Either he'll take his nap, first he'll enter his house and he'll pray Duha prayer. Sometimes 2 rak'ah, sometimes 4 rak'ah, sometimes 6 rak'ah, 8 rak'ah, and then he would. If there was food later, he'd probably eat some food. Even somebody start the day fasting, but if food arrives, some guests send some neighbors send some food, he'll eat salawatullah salamu alayhi. And then he'll be engaged, helping his family in their sort of daily errands, house chores, all this, and guys think it's not manly to wash the dishes. Well, Rasulullah used to be involved, and his family used to, sew his own clothes, used to take care of his family, being in the service of his family, Rasulullah. So there's nothing more manly than being in the service of your family. So this was in the early hours before his nap, and then he'll take his nap. So practical tip, mid-morning, around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock before Dhuhr, good idea is to get up, make wudu, pray duha prayer. For example, maybe if you're not home to be in service of your family, perhaps you can call them, see how they're doing at that time. Or perhaps if it's a weekend, you can spend that time also in those mid-mornings, sort of taking care of your family's needs. And then also this is a time that sometimes that the women of Medina used to come to the Rasul's house and ask about female questions. You know, they wanted to ask more clarification because the wives of Rasulullah would be there and they would also be there to help answer. So that's another time for him. And then he would take his nap, and his nap could be again shorter or longer depending. We're not sure exactly how long it would be, but this in the early hours, that's when he will take his naps. Salawatullah just before Dhuhr prayer, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So again, practical tip, mid-morning, pray duha, ask about your family. If you're at home, be the service of your family, and then take your nap just before Dhuhr. And this is from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now again, you might think, well, how to take a nap at work, right? I'm in office. Again, just closing your eyes. You don't have to like snore for 3 hours. You're just like closing your eyes, putting your head under your, putting your hands under your thing, or just putting your head in the pillow. 10, 20 minutes, take a power nap. It's all you need. You'll feel super fresh, right? You'll feel super fresh. So again, and nowadays there have been studies after studies have shown the power of power naps, how useful they are, how practical they are. From NASA to astronauts to Google to Apple, all the big companies now are waking up to the idea, oh, naps are important. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as our best model, did take a nap. So let's try our best to find some time to take a nap. Again, it doesn't have to be long. It can be very short, 10, 20 minutes, closing your eyes, just putting your head down. That's all it's needed, really, just to really, get and do it from the knee of, I'm trying to emulate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's just this is just before noon, inshallah ta'ala, just before the whole prayer, before the Salatul Dhuhr, Salatullah salamu alayhi. Okay, so again, so far so good, guys. I mean, I know that this might be overload information, but hopefully you guys are finding it, you're following through with me now. So right now with Dhuhr prayer, Bilal radiallahu anhu would be calling the adhan, and Rasulullah normally would sometimes wake up. If he was taking his nap, he'd wake up from the adhan, and again, he'd get ready for take wudu, he'd get ready for you pray the sunnah for Dhuhr prayer, and then he would go to the masjid, and he would lead the people in prayer. And after Dhuhr prayer, normally that's when he gives kind of his khutbah. Sometimes, especially things which are urgent, things that are important announcements, he'll give his khutbah on this time. This is the time people are also most awake, because most people already have woken up from the naps on the same time. So everyone has had their rest. So everyone's kind of more alert than normal. So that's a good time for Rasulullah used to get up and give the khutbah on this time, when he kind of reminds people. And he really gives them sort of a very, very strong khutbahs around this time. Sometimes he would say, ask me, why don't you ask me questions? And he would ask people to ask questions. Sometimes, if something is happening very important, let's say some poor person, one day he saw people who are very, very in a very terrible condition, hungry, they don't have enough clothes on. So Rasulullah felt very emotional for them. He prayed the whole thing, got up, and he made a very strong khutbah, encouraged the Sahaba to give sadaqah to these people. So this is normally around the Dhuhr time is when he gives kind of his official khutbah of the day. Not every day gives a khutbah, but sometimes he would do it, again, if something that cannot wait till Jum'ah, for example, he would do it around this time, inshallah ta'ala. Again, after Dhuhr, he would sometimes, sometime before Dhuhr, before Asr, he would go out to Quba, or he would go out to different parts of Medina to see the conditions of people. Some days he heard that some people had a fight, so go and he'll help, solve the fight that happened between people. And again, Rasulullah always engaged the community, always engaged with, with going towards people. So that's something that, Rasulullah used to get engaged with his community. If he heard, not like, oh, it's not my problem, right? Someone got a fight, oh, not a problem, may Allah help them. He was active. He used to tell Sahaba, let's go until we fix between them, help them solve between them. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. So again, practical tip, Dhuhr prayer. Again, you can pray Dhuhr prayer as you wake up from your nap, or if you're not taking a nap, you can pray Dhuhr prayer. And again, you're engaging with your community, with your work, your profession, with what you're doing until Asr. Now, Asr is when Rasulullah used to pray Asr. He used to pray 4 raka'at before Asr prayer. And he used to be really in a hurry to pray Asr prayer. He never like to delay Asr prayer. And this is something very, very important, because, it's funny, from that time, 14 years ago, till today, Asr prayer falls in that very, I don't want to use the word, but like inconvenient time. What do I mean by this? Because the time of Sahaba, Asr means that the sun is going to set, and it's going to get dark. So they have to pack up their, if they're in the fields, have to pack up the tools in the fields. If they're in the market, they have to pack up their shop. So it's actually because then you can't see anything at night. So Asr used to be almost like it's almost a countdown to Maghrib. So it used to be a very stressful time. So it's very tempting to delay Asr. Now think about this in a modern time. In a modern times, Asr is like that time when you want to beat the rush hour traffic, right? You want to get home quickly before the rush hour traffic begins, or you want to make sure you don't get, or you want to get home first before the rush hour. So it's also very like, you have to I have to rush home. I want to get home for dinner. I want to get home before dinner starts. So it's one of those times is very tight. And Rasulullah ﷺ, again, as a reminder for us, used to make sure he prayed it first. He used to hasten it, meaning he used to, as soon as the time comes, he would pray it, not to delay it, because it's so easy to get to get derailed from, from the Asr prayer. So that's the thing about Asr prayer, that it's very important that sometimes, and especially for guys or people who are working, you know this, that you feel so tempted to just, I'll get home and pray Asr. Just pray Asr before you leave from work, or pray Asr along the way, stop your car and go pray, but don't leave it till Asr later, because Prophet used to like to pray it in his early times. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Now after Asr, he would go back to his family, and he would spend time with his family, and he would go either see all his wives at the same time, and they're all gathered together into the wife who Muhammad would spend the night with that night, on whose turn it was, and he would spend time with them, and they will all be together. And this is a time where sometimes they will just start to talk to each other. They will sort of discuss, ask questions, and you hear a lot of the hadith. You hear Aisha asking a question, or Hafsa radiallahu anha used to ask the question. It'll be around this time, around Asr time, when they're all together and they're asking questions, and and he would even question them as well, get them to think from among themselves. So this is again a moment of family time. So after Asr is family time, quality time. Maybe something you could do is halaqah with your family. Maybe it's a time where you can spend astaghfir a day, but also give that very subtle Islamic knowledge, Islamic akhlaq to your family around this time. Kids came back from school. The parents are there, and you're kind of hearing what they happen in school, and you're trying to give them slowly the adab. Maybe this is a good time, something like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do with his family around this time. And Asr prayer will continue. This will continue till Maghrib. Maghrib, he'll get up, he'll go again, he will pray 2 rak'ah before Maghrib, and then he will lead the salah for Maghrib prayer, and then he would read a very short surah on Maghrib prayers. But sometimes he also used to read long. And then he would never give a khutbah after Maghrib, because he knew that people are in a haste to go and have dinner, right? A lot of people, it's like, even today, a lot of people have dinner after Maghrib, or if it's early enough, have dinner. So it's like, this is the time when people have dinner, so he would not want to keep them with another lecture, like muhadara. So he just, everyone will go home after that time. And again, he'll go back and spend time with his family. Now, just think how many times that he's going back to spend his family. He's going back to spend time with his family. This is one of the things that surprised me throughout this seerah, that the day of Prophet, that he spent a lot of time with his family. It's not like we always think that he was very busy and he never spent time. He was as much as possible. He was always sort of coming back home and spending time with his family, and really spending quality time. So this is time for him. He used to have dinner. And notice I didn't say lunch, right? So he used to have practically almost 2 meals a day, sometimes 1 meal a day, right? Sometimes, a meal in the morning and then a meal in the evening. That's all he used to have, salawatullah salamu alayhi. And unless he gets invited, sometimes mid-morning, sometimes he gets invited, people invite him over. If they had some meat or something, they would invite him and he'll eat from that, salawatullah alayhi. But it wasn't a regular thing to have 3 meals a day, or more than that. If there's something in the morning, he would eat. If there's nothing in the morning, he would fast. If there's something comes on later on, he would eat. If there's nothing, he would continue his fasting. And after Maghrib, if he was fast, he would break his fast. If not, then he would have his dinner as well around this time, salawatullah salamu alayhi. And he would have his dinner. And sometimes some people invite him, so he would spend time with them as well. And then, or sometimes just spend quality time with his wife, and you hear him feeding his wife, salawatullah salamu alayhi, or really helping, just again being that amazing, awesome father, husband, person he is at home, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Okay, then Isha prayer would come. Isha prayer would come, and adhan would be called by Bilal, and then they will sometimes he would delay Isha, sometimes make Isha early, depends. He always used to look, if people are gathered, he will pray early. If people are not gathered, he'll delay it. But sometimes he would delay it so much that some people will even go back to sleep, but he would pray later. He used to, Isha is the only prayer he kind of delayed, and he preferred, but he said, I don't want to delay too much because I don't want to overburden my people. But then he would also pray, but he never give a khutbah after Isha. So after Isha, again, people are tired, they want to sleep. Again, leadership lesson: be conscious of the condition of your people. If you see that your team members are tired, that they're overwhelmed, don't overburden them, right? Don't try to ask them to do too much. It's like, give them some time to rest, relax, wait for them they're energetic, and then sort of push them to some tasks or things to do. This is a leadership lesson from the daily routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so Isha is done. Sometimes when we do at Isha, he would either spend some, maybe an hour or half an hour with his very close friends, Abu Bakr, Umar, Khattab, and some of the Sahaba sometimes, and maybe he'll pass by somebody's house and he would hear Quran being recited, and he would just listen to the Quran being recited. Maybe sometimes he would come in and he would see Abdullah Mas'ud, for example, praying, and he'll go and sort of go listen to his salah. And then, and then he won't spend the whole night, but maybe an hour or two, or half an hour, Allah alam exactly. But after his story goes out and he meets people who come to home, and he will get ready for bed, and he will get into the bed and be with his wife, and he'll talk to his wife before sleeping, and then he'll make adhkar before sleeping, and then he would spend that quality time with his wife, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then basically he would sleep. And this is his longest sleep from after Isha until midnight. So think about this. I calculated roughly how many hours is that. It's roughly 4.5 hours from after Isha, and this is again Medina time zone, until midnight. Now midnight, not just 12 o'clock midnight. Midnight meaning you take sunrise, you take sort of Fajr, and take sunset, and you take how many hours between, and then sort of divide by 2, and whenever that's midnight. So calculate midnight. So he used to sleep Rasulullah for like literally 4.5 hours, and he would get up and then he would start his night prayer. Now, so far everything I've described may have been easy, doable, right? This is where it gets a bit hard, okay? And this is where people find it challenging. They're sleeping 4 hours and getting up, and he really used to get up. And Aisha who say that Rasulullah would wake up before, and he would say Allahu Akbar 10 times, he would say Alhamdulillah 10 times, he would say Subhanallah bihamdi 10 times, Subhanallah Quddus 10 times, Astaghfirullah 10 times, La ilaha illallah 10 times, and then he'll make dua, and then he'll start. It's almost like he's trying to recharge himself, like Subhanallah, 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 Alhamdulillah, 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 La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. You can imagine Rasulullah saying this 10 times, each of these, really sort of getting himself energized and ready for night prayer. And then he gets immersed in his night prayer, and anyone who observes Rasulullah from the hadith and from the sayings, you'd realize that he used to enjoy night prayer. It's not a burden upon him. It's almost like the time that he used to look forward to. And he was like, enjoying, immersing. He recites slowly, he recites long, he does his ruku' long, his sujood long. He's really, really just enjoying himself. This is his me time, right? A lot of people say, oh, we want some me time. We want some me time means I want to get some massage, I want to get some, some me time, which is like I want to just go and have my own coffee somewhere quiet. His me time was standing in salah, in tahajjud, and just worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and concentrating on that worship. And it's beautiful how he recites. Every time he comes a verse that has Jannah, ask Allah for it. Every time there's a verse that is of hellfire, he seeks refuge in Allah for it. And then, when it comes, and then close to the 6th of the night. So now divide the whole night into 6 parts. The last 6, so when 2 hours, roughly 2 hours, 1.5 that is left, he would then wake up his wife, and he would, he would get up and he would pray witr with her, and he reminded her that she'll pray witr, and then he'll sleep for 2 hours. And that's where, and then he wakes up again for the next day. Sometimes at these times when he wakes up middle of the night, at midnight, he used to go out, and he used to go to the graves of al-Baqi', and he make dua for the people of Baqi'. And now again, look at the loyalty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That he was so loyal to his followers, even after they died, he would still go and make dua for them. Now, talk about leadership lesson here. That when you care about the people you lead, the people who follow you so much that even after they die, you can think, okay, they're dead, they don't care. Even after you go and you visit them, you ask and you help and you make dua for them. So it really, really is an amazing, just experience that Rasulullah is reminding this loyalty to his companions, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. That's something that, that is very, very powerful. And like I said, and then the last 6th of the night. So again, take the whole night, divide by 6 parts. The last 6, which like, let's say 2 hours before Fajr or 1.5 hours before Fajr, he would then take his nap. He would, get ready as a nap before Fajr prayer until Fajr again. And that's how he starts again, inshallah ta'ala. So again, it's very, very powerful lesson from Rasulullah sallam routine. It's like, if you think about it, just to give you a quick summary of what happens of the day of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, quick summary: he wakes up for Fajr prayer. After that night prayer, he prays Fajr. He prays his two Sunnah rak'ah in home. He prays his Fajr. He stays in Musalla in Masjid until the sunrise. After sunrise, he would do he'll go to his family first, and then he would go out in the streets and sort of meet people, visit the sick, help people, just be around with people. They'll come home, pray Duha prayer. After Duha prayer, he would help his family, take a nap, and then Dhuhr prayer. Then he'll make Dhuhr. Then if there's something important, he'll give a khutbah after Dhuhr. And then he'll go and either help some people, or if he's invited, or he goes and helps support some people. Then Asr comes, he comes for Asr prayer, he prays Asr. He then goes again, spends time with his wives all the time. All his wives, all his family meet together in one house. And this is the time where they kind of learn things together. And then Maghrib comes, and then he prays Maghrib, comes home, has dinner with his family. And then after Maghrib, and then Isha prayer comes. He goes prays Isha. After Isha, he prays two rak'ah sunnah after Isha. And then he would either spend time with some of his close friends, or he'd come home and rest and sleep, spend quality time with his wife, and then he would sleep till midnight. Midnight he'll wake up, sallallahu alayhi, and then he would pray his tahajjud from midnight until the last sixth of the night is left. When the last sixth of the night is left, he would then take his nap. He'll get up, wake his wife, he'll pray with her prayer, and then he will take that nap before Fajr prayer. And this is basically the routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, I want to ask you right now, what surprised you, right? Just now when you hear all of this, what surprised you? What was the thing that thought, oh, I never thought of it that way? What surprised you so far? Okay, he's compassionate for people, okay? Okay, such a family person, wonderful. Okay. To feel joy in praying, the normalcy, exactly. Adnan, perfect. It sounds so normal. It doesn't sound, we always think like some amazing, super duper complicated, complex routine, but it's actually such a simple routine. And this time, and spending time. This is the powerful thing about the Rasulullah. It's like he was a human being, but the best human being is showing us the best way to live is be a family person. Here's some tips. Here's something I want to share. These reflections. Inshallah, will end. Of course, you couldn't continue, but some reflections for this. Number one, that his day revolved around the salah. If you think about it, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Qiyam al-Layl. His day revolved around the salah. That's the only thing he was kind of strict about in terms of making sure he's on time and he prays on time. Everything else was very fluid. Everything was going around the salah. But his day was planned. This is why we always say, ProductiveMuslim, make sure you plan your life around your salah. Always plan your meetings around salah. Plan your day around salah. And he used to, his whole day was revolved around the salah. So make sure when you plan your day, the way you plan your hours, instead of spending the night watching Netflix for 2 hours, how about sleeping early and getting up for tahajjud, for example? Instead of spending those mornings sleeping in, how about staying up and praying duha prayer, for example? That is when you revolve your life around salah, not the other way around. So that's very, very important, the way that he used to revolve around salah. Number two, he used to be always in a constant state of remembrance. And again, we don't have time to go through this, but everything I said, from the moment he wakes up to the moment sleeps, there's a dua, right? When he wakes up, when he enters the masjid, when he leaves the masjid, when he enters home, when he leaves home, when he eats, when he finishes eating, when he visits the sick, when he visits the graveyards, when he's always in a state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another thing we can definitely practically emulate and apply in our daily life. The third thing is about how he fulfilled every right with his family, with his companions, whether they're young, whether they're old, whether the men, women. He was always fulfilling the right of others. No one complained that, oh, Rasulullah did not give my haqq. He gave every single one his haqq, salawatullah salamu alayhi. The other thing you notice that he was not stressed. I mean, think about it. He's the most busiest man ever lived. But he was not stressed. He wasn't like the way we are so rushed and, oh my God, and traffic jam, and he was not stressed. He was just like, he was purposeful. I won't say he wasn't too chilled as well, but he was not stressed the way sometimes we are in our modern day life, unfortunately. So think about how he was very, not stressed at all. The other is the simplicity, right? If there's meal, fine. If there's no meal, he was fasting. If someone invites him, okay, he'll sit down and eat. If he's not, no problem. Very spontaneous, not like rigid, no like, oh, sorry, 2 o'clock, I'm sorry, I cannot be with you. You have to come back, appointment tomorrow. Very fluid, very spontaneous, very simple. That's something we need to always, think about it. Again, the strong family relationship, like I said, the most surprising thing about this whole seerah for me, for this whole work, was that the amount of time he spent. After Fajr, he would go and see his family. And after mid-morning, he would come and go back to see his family. After Dhuhr, he would, if someone go back to his family for Asr sometimes. After Asr, he would spend time with his family. After Maghrib, have dinner with his family. After Isha, he would go spend time with his wife and, be with that. So he spent the whole morning, almost like 60-70% of his waking time with his family. And that is something that we need to always remember. He used to answer people's needs. When people call him for a need, whether if they want someone to visit him or something, he would answer the call needs. He was not somebody who said, oh, sorry, I'm too busy, or don't come to me. He would answer people's needs. And think about Rasulullah and the tragedies he faced through his life, in terms of he lost his wife Khadija, he lost his beloved uncles, he lost family members and companions in battlefields, he lost his 3 sons, Ibrahim, Abdullah and Al-Qasim, he lost daughters in his life. Think about the tragedies that Rasulullah faced in his life, but you see him, he's happy, he's very happy. He's very content. He's very somebody who always, people used to come to seek see happiness in his face. So even though if one of us was affected by just one of his tragedies, we'd probably be depressed the rest of our lives. But Rasulullah ﷺ is teaching us how to be always happy and present, and overcome those negative emotions. Yes, he sometimes felt sad. Yes, he cried. Yes, his heart was hurt sometimes. But he was not a constant state of sadness. He was also like so in a happy, not also in a joyful, too joyful way, but something was balanced between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And finally, he was very present. Like he was very, very present in the moment, that when he's meeting somebody, he's talking to them, and like the person feels like he's giving his full attention. And that's something we can definitely learn. Again, like I said, guys, it's not that complicated for us to start implementing the daily routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, we have some tweaks here and there, of course, of work, and we have busy and so on and so forth. But look through this again, inshallah ta'ala, and just see, like, what, it's not that hard. If you can go check out the article on ProductiveMuslim.com, it's for free, on the daily routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just go check it out and read it, and think to yourself, what, can I fulfill this? Probably 60 to 70% of the things you can do already. 60 to 70% of the daily routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam you can do already. And what's the powerful thing about this is that is when barakah comes in your life. That's when you feel your life full of barakah, because you're not doing these habits just out of habits, but you're doing it because you want to fulfill and be in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, I hope that you guys found this beneficial and practical for your homework. And yes, there is a homework. You need to go to ProductiveMuslim.com and check out this article, the routine of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the daily routine of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I want you to basically choose just one of his habits that you're not doing now and start building into your life. Start doing it for training, for building your life. And then once you've mastered that, do some more, inshallah. And once you've mastered that, do some more, inshallah, until you, as much as possible, fill your life with the same habits, with the same routines of the most successful man that ever lived for dunya and akhirah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I hope you guys enjoyed this, inshallah ta'ala. And again, once more, this is the last call. This is probably the last webinar we're having for this Barakah Effect webinar series. We've been having about 3 webinars. Sorry, this is the 3rd one on the Barakah Effect, trying to encourage Muslim professionals to really think about the barakah in their lives. We're having a live 1-day workshop here in Dallas, Texas. So I highly encourage you guys to sign up for this 1-day workshop. And if you're not able to make it, then at least, try to think about barakah in your life. Inshallah, we'll be visiting your cities, but please, if you are in Dallas or in the US or Canada, we can fly into this 1-day workshop where you can learn some practical prophetic guidance on productivity and on the leadership of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then I highly recommend you guys to come. All you got to do is go to ProductiveMuslim.com/Dallas, and you'll see the exact address and how to attend the live event. I'm looking forward to meeting some of you, inshallah ta'ala, in person. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma hamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.